Yo guys, Spiderbot here, and this is part 2 of our little mini-series we have talking about Die Rise. Last video we talked about Max's diary entry, and one thing I wanted to cover off here was this image that I posted in that last video, and I think I'm getting trolled here a little bit with the date where you see bus stop transit December 31st. 1969, and I'm pretty sure if you go back and change the date on your console, that's what will show up on the Elite app as to when you played the game, I believe. Anyways, but regardless, I mean, the theory was, and the discussion was, that we still think that Transit and Green Run is in that time frame. Is in the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. And that in Die Rise, we are now in the future. So there are a few things that I want to look at here on Die Rise. So I was doing some searching around last week because when you load up Die Rise, it states Province 22. We know we're in China, and I did some searching on Province 22, and honestly, the searching I did, I have no idea which province is Province 22, because there are a number of ways that you can look at it, okay? Each province, and I'll link you to this this image in the description, it's just Wikipedia and provinces of the People's Republic of China. And each province has a ISO number associated with it. So we could say, well, is province number 22 Jilin province? And the capital is Changchun with a population of 27, almost 0.5 million people, I guess. Million? So that's one way to look at it. But, you know, is it meant to be, are they referencing Province 22 as the ISO number of the province? Or is it the 22nd province that was added to China? I could find no sort of evidence where, you know, what the last province that was actually defined or classified in China was. Or could it be the last one in alphabetical order? There are only 22 provinces, so, you know, Province 22, again, could either be the ISO, related to the ISO number, related to the last one defined as a province, perhaps, or the last one alphabetically. So I couldn't really come to a definitive conclusion as to what province we're dealing with here. The second thing that I wanted to look at is, okay, buildings. I mean, we're in the future. We're talking about a building here that has been, part of the top has been sort of cut off and it's fallen over, right? So you have not only your spawn building, but you have the Buddha building, which is overturned, and it is attached. It's still attached. I don't know how this thing's 30 stories of a building is hanging by rebar, it looks like, you know, rebar that they put in concrete to reinforce concrete. That's holding up 30 stories of a building, I guess. But let's take a look at the number of floors in these buildings. And what really doesn't make sense to me, and I'll show you in a minute. Well, let's take a look at the first spawn building here. And we have a total of 81 floors up here, right? So we have 81 plus whatever number of floors exists on the overturned building, or part of the building, the Buddha building. Well, the thing is, if we go into the elevator shaft, the floors are, you know, are labeled starting from 18. So that doesn't make any sense. Why would the floors start all of a sudden at 18 and then go down to, you know, 30, right? So we got 27, 28, and if we go down to the Buddha room, 29, so, you know, approximately 30 additional floors, right? So we have the 81 and plus 30. So it's a 111-story building. But again, why wouldn't it continue 82, 83, 84? I don't know. Maybe it's just some sort of glitch, or Treyarch just overlooked it or something. So I have no idea. But what we're going to do is assume for the moment that it is an 111-story building. Okay, so that is another link, because there are only so many 100-plus story buildings in the world, and I'm going to link you to another page here. Wikipedia is great. List of buildings with 100 floors or more, and this includes not only completed buildings, but buildings that are still under construction, buildings canceled, demolished buildings, which include the World Trade Center buildings in New York, and a timeline down at the bottom. But the thing I wanted to look at, okay, so we're obviously looking at China. We don't we're keeping an open mind as to what province we're in. And the one match that I got was the Chow Tai Fook Center, which is in Guangzhou City. That city is located in the Guangdong province. Guangdong is the most highly populated province in China at 104.3 million people. So is this possibly a link? And I know, if you look at transit, maybe perhaps those locations weren't intended to be real locations, and we're making an assumption here that this building in this city is intended to sort of mimic a real world location. And again, going to that page, that is the only building that comes close. I mean, we have 100-story building, 101, 103, 118, the International Commerce Center in Hong Kong, which construction is completed. That building is operational. And then we have these other buildings at 115, 125, 121. Some of these aren't scheduled to be completed until 2014, 15, 2017. The Chow Tai Fook Center is scheduled to be completed in 2017. So if we are going by this and this relation to 111 floors, then we know that the date of this map is beyond 2017, perhaps, right? Now, there are a couple other buildings here in Dairise that have a striking similarity to an existing building that is actually in Shanghai called the Jin Mao Tower. And if we look at this building, first of all, and then there's another building just behind the Spawn building and the Buddha building with the panda sign on it. And both of those buildings, I mean, more so the first one, both of those buildings have sort of a similar design to the Jin Mao Center. So again, the Jin Mao Tower being in Shanghai, but Shanghai is not a province in China. Shanghai is declared as a municipality, so it's not one of the 22 provinces. So what I really believe here is that Treyarch didn't design Dairise to emulate any given particular city or province in China, even though it states province 22 when you're loading the game on the loading screen. I still think they've sort of taken a mishmash of buildings and put them together, so I don't really think you can pinpoint a particular city where this would be located in. But if you were to take a look at a location, the two locations you'd probably want to look at are Shanghai and Guangzhou, the ones that we mentioned where these buildings are located that bear a resemblance to the buildings in Dairise. So one more thing I wanted to cover off here, and it came up in the last video because I left it open for you guys to talk about it, and I purposely didn't talk about it because I wanted that discussion, is, okay, the timeline. The timeline on Transit 60s, 70s, and the timeline here in the 2000s, like 2020, let's say. And we already know, or we're already surmising, that we've traveled in space and time. Obviously, we've traveled in space from transit in the US to China. We've traveled in time, and the release of Maxis' diary discussing time travel, I don't think is an accident. I mean, they did it on purpose to make help us make that connection. But we already knew that. We already knew, even going back to the Dairise posters, that we were in a future time period. The only problem I have is if our timelines are correct, and the bombs from the moon hit in transit, hit the Earth in that time frame, 60s, 70s, or just prior to transit, why the technological advances in China? Like these skyscraper buildings, if these bombs had hit in the 60s, 70s, I don't think you'd see this kind of technological advancement and construction advancement in China when the world's partially destroyed. And it looks like, again, these buildings are currently on fire, presumably because the time frame here is shortly after the bombs hit from the moon, right? And that's why these buildings are on fire, the collapsing, etc. So, well, what does that mean? I mean, we're in two different time frames, yet it's as if the bombs have just hit the Earth. What does that mean? Well, either A, we're completely wrong about our time frame in transit, and we are looking at the same time as we are here in China, which doesn't make sense because they're trying to tie in this whole concept of time travel in Max's diary. The only other explanation I can think of is that this is an alternate reality. An alternate reality where the bombs hit in a different time frame in this reality than they did in the transit reality. Whoa. Okay, I'm going to start thinking time travel here. I've been watching, the wife and I, Spider Wife and I have been watching Lost, rewatching Lost, and we're in the final season now. And they do a lot on time travel, and it's very, very hard to get your mind wrapped around the idea of time travel and how things affect other things. But I do think we're talking an alternate reality here, and we even saw with the beginning cutscene how the characters came in. They all died, and then they restarted, and it's like Groundhog Day. So it's not too hard to think that yes, we have space travel, we have time travel or teleportation, we have time travel, we have alternate reality travel, and we have like Groundhog Day concepts going on here. So I mean, we got everything but the kitchen sink, or pretty much and the kitchen sink, going on here in COD Zombies and Black Ops 2. So what does this all mean, and how does it tie in? Well, stay tuned for Part 3, which will be out in a day or two, where I discuss where I think things are going from here with the final 3 DLC map packs from Treyarch, where I see things going, as well as tying in, well, what about the nav card table? What's going on with the nav card table, and how does that tie in? We've built 2 of these tables. The tables aren't associated with the Easter eggs at all. With the powering of the towers, although they might tie in somehow, but the tables remain built. If you build them, they will come. No, the tables remain built, provided if you go on online solo, and it depends on the host, I think. And we've also managed to use the transit nav card in the Die Rise nav card table, but we have a nav card from Die Rise that we don't know what to do with. It doesn't work in transit. So Part 3, I will give my thoughts onto where this is going with respect to the alternate realities, the towers, the powering of the towers, both Maxis and Richtofen, as well as where I think they may be going with the nav card tables. Guys, stay tuned. We'll be back. I'm Spider and I'm out.